either turn off or silence your cell phones, please. I would like you all now, if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any veterans here today? I want to please thank you very much for your service to the country. A couple of things, folks. As you can see, we're pretty well spaced out. We would encourage you to maintain 6-foot distancing at all times when possible. We're going to try something a little bit different today. If you wish to speak on anything, if you would raise your hand to be recognized, we will have a microphone brought to you rather than you standing in line and going to the microphone. My name is Chuck Mitchell, Moderator, my 11th year. To my left, far left, Cindy Reinhardt, Town Clerk. To my immediate left, Helen Hanks, my Assistant Moderator. I have 2 more Assistant Moderators, Linda Burns. Where are you, Linda? Linda Burns. Bob Hardy, where are you? Bob Hardy's over here. And Lauren Milder, are you here? Lauren Milder is supposed to also be joining us today. I now, Joe Jessamine, would you please introduce the Select Board?
Good morning. And on my left is Antonino, Vice Chairman, Mr. Peter Fogg, Aaron Tyra, and John Steele down on the end. Beyond that, you'll see Katie Gortford, the town administrator, and Tim Pearson, who is the financial / IT guru.
You gotta put your mics on, guys.
Matter of fact, it's gonna be bad. Maybe he just doesn't like you, Joe.
And over against the wall on the side, Catherine Dawson. Would you introduce yourself and anyone else who's here from the Budget Committee? Catherine, you should have a microphone over there for you to use.
Gotta be on the recording.
You want to try that again?
Is it on?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm Catherine Dawson, and this is Christine Dubinsky.
I want to thank everyone who's for coming today. I want to let you know that the decision to move forward with this meeting today was not taken lightly. We had multiple meetings, not only with the town health officer, my assistant moderators, and the select board before we went ahead and made the decision to have this meeting. I'm sure there are some people that aren't happy that we're having it today, but the town business does need to get done. I also want to make a personal thank you to the 260 plus people who actually showed up here on Tuesday to vote. I also want to thank the supervisors of the checklist and the select board and my assistant moderators, ballot clerks, for making it a successful election. Today, non-voters are seated within the roped-in area over to my right under the basketball backboard. Every voter who has checked in today should have one of these orange voter cards. Would you please take your orange voter card and just hold it up? And as you look around, make sure that everyone around you has an orange voter card. Thank you very much. Later in the day, if we have any, what we would generally call standing votes, or if I want to see the voting cards, we will have those counted, and then you will need to raise that card. Today there will be one secret ballot vote. It is going to be on Article 4. And we will let you know more about that. The ballots that you will be given are of this bright green, fluorescent green kind of color. They are virus-free, so you shouldn't worry about handling them. I'm now going to call on our town clerk, who is going to read the results. Joe, could you bring up the microphone? We'll read the results from the election.
Can you hear me? We had 281 voters on election day, which was pretty good, considering our normal is probably about 260. For Selectmen, Robert Yannicki, 19 votes. Anna Yasharian with 45. Patricia Constantino with 159. James Cropsey with 64. Scott Ruggles with 161. Dan Vinyl with 22. And Brad Walther with 14. The two winners, of course, is Patricia Constantino and Scott Ruggles. Congratulations. For Budget Committee, Deb Shepherd, 184, Judy Tilton, 195. There was 3 positions open. The highest write-in was Bill Lawrence, and he accepted that position. So all 3 are now on the Budget Committee. Congratulations. For Trustee of the Trust Fund, Janice Boudreaux with 234 votes. Nobody else ran against her. For Sewer Commissioner, Catherine Dawson with 209 votes. Congratulations to both of you. We have 3 zoning questions. All 3 passed. The first one, yeses, 174, noes, 73. Second question, 145, noes, 96. Third question, yes, 188, and noes, 65. Thank you.
Also, it's a reminder to all of those who are elected that you will need to come down here at the end of the meeting today, where our town clerk will swear you in. So all those elected, please come right down to the front when we finish. And now I want to just have a couple of comments about the moderator's rules, which are in your handbooks or the town reports. They're in there on pages 22 and 23. Today, when and if you are speaking to any one of the articles, please try to keep your comments as brief as possible. As in the past, we would try to get every person who wishes to speak for or against an article a chance to speak at least once before we allow someone to speak a second time. Also, if you are going to be speaking on an issue or against one, you cannot speak to the issue and then at the end of your statement say, and now I'm going to close debate. You cannot do that. You can speak for it. If you wish to try to move the question or close debate, you will have to be recognized a second time. However, anyone else behind you in line or to speak could close debate at any time. However, I will not accept a motion to close debate if I don't think there has been adequate discussion. Tabling. Sometimes people think you can get rid of an article by simply tabling it. Please be aware that tabling a motion means you are tabling it for the time being, and that item can come back any time up until the meeting is over. So it's only a temporary situation. Restricting reconsideration. Also known in the past years ago as protecting your vote. Anytime after a vote has passed, anyone can stand up and move to restrict reconsideration of that article. And what that simply means is that it cannot be brought back up again at this meeting. A motion to reconsider a vote is not to be used by someone on the losing side of a vote. It is supposed to be used only by someone on the prevailing side, and that person would have perhaps information that they had not previously had, and now they feel that they need to perhaps change their vote. It's not a motion I like to see used. Hopefully that won't be used today. We allow 2 minutes for speakers for and against, and up to 5 minutes for someone who is making a motion. Helen Hanks is going to be timing people. We have our high technology sign here, and she will hold that up when you get to within 15 seconds of your time limit. And when your time is up, she will wave that. We have decided not to play the Star Spangled Banner when your time is up. The other thing is that the last two rules on pages 22 and 23 state that basically any ruling that the moderator makes can be overruled by the body. So if I make a decision on something and people in here disagree, we can put it to a vote of the body, and if people wish to overturn the moderator, then that's the way it will be. We're almost there, folks. At the beginning of each warrant article, I will read the article, and then someone will move the article, and then we can go on from there. When we do the Article 4, which is going to come up sooner than not, everyone who has their orange voter cards will proceed over to the supervisors of the checklist where you checked in today. You will present your voter card, and you will note that it has on there secret ballots 1, 2, 3. They will punch the voter card and hand you one of these ballots. It's simply a yes, no. We do have pens available that have been sanitized. You may take a pen if you would like. If not, don't worry about it. If you have the pen, take the pen and you want to keep it, it's yours. After voting and marking this, and you can go over there, you will find the ballot boxes over on that wall. I would request that after marking the ballot, you take this ballot and fold it once in half. State statute requires you to hand this to an assistant moderator or moderator who will then place it in the box. You don't get a chance to place it in the ballot box yourself. Why, might you ask? To be sure, what goes in the ballot box is only one ballot and by the person who's doing the voting. It's RSA 659:23. Okay. I would like to have a motion, if I can, to accept the moderator's rules for the meeting. Moved by Jason Wright and seconded by Bob Hardy. For the record, and it's very important for the transcript and minutes of this meeting, that as you speak and speak into the microphone, each time please state your name. Excuse me? Yeah, you do not need to state your address, just your name. Let's see. The first article, an interesting situation has arisen. Normally I would stand here and read to you all of Article number 3, which is a bond issue. However, I have also been informed that the Select Board intends to withdraw Article number 3. So rather than reading the entire article, I'm going to be calling on Eric Pyra, who wants to make a statement and represent it from the Select Board, and upon completing so, there will be a time for comment from the general public. Once we've done that, I will put that to a vote to see whether or not the body is willing to have Article number 3 withdrawn. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, I move to withdraw Article 3 as proposed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Eric and seconded by Pat Constantino to withdraw Article 3. Would you please tell us the reasons why?
Sure. In conversations with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, we were advised that there were no state aid highway funds available for this project. We were further advised that in order to advance the project, the town needs to work with our regional planning commission to update the project costs and submit it as a new priority project in the next 10-year project rounds. We are asking the body to support the motion to withdraw and give us the time and opportunity to update the plan, and we expect we would come back next year with a bond article for Caleb Hill.
Anyone in the body have any questions or comments? Yes, we'll have a microphone brought right over to you. Please state your name.
It is on. Go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Robert Trailstone, Cadenfield Road. I have a quick question. Why are we moving forward? You say you're going to come up with a new proposal next year. As I understand it at the moment, the state owns the road. Why is the town still interested in taking it from the state and putting ourselves further in debt, assuming a new liability, rather than just leaving it with the state from now on out?
In answer to your question, Robert, I believe part of the reason of the delay is we still want to negotiate with them so that we do not take ownership. One of the last big projects was Silver Lake Church River Roads. Originally, we were supposed to take ownership at the end. We were able to negotiate that project so that the state still controls those roads. That's part of the issue. The other issue is our designs are so old, DOT wants updated plans and costs before they're even going to consider the project.
Okay, why don't we just
Peter Fogg.
why don't we just win the project completely, and rather than presenting a new proposal, just let the state keep the road. They can't force us to take it, surely.
Peter Fogg. Part of it is, even if they maintain control, there's usually splits, 80-20 split. They pay 80, we pay 20, they still maintain it. This one went into a different type of project, which dropped it to 2/3, 1/3. So depending where the pool comes from, there's going to be a ratio state to town on the project. Then the negotiations are who owns it at the end.
But what's the split at the moment?
But I don't want this to turn into a debate, and normally I ask every question to be asked to go through the moderator. We are now on whether or not this article should be withdrawn. At this particular point, we're not debating the validity of the original warrant article.
Well, I would say that this pertains to whether we should make a decision on withdrawing. Part of the withdrawal was that you said it would come back next year. Part of the withdrawal proposal.
Peter Fogg. Another reason for the delay is if you bond it this year, that starts the bond clock. You've got 5 years to do it. If you run into delays, we'll have to come back and rebond. That's what's happened with the original bond. It's so old, we've had to rebond.
On microphone 2.
Scott Davis, 5 Million Ave. Mr. Moderator, can you explain to me, point of order, where in your moderator rules there's a way to withdraw an article? I don't see it in your moderator rules.
It is not within the moderator's rules. However, any article can be defeated or withdrawn by the maker of the warrant article.
So it's because the selectmen put it on, that's why that's happening, Mr. Moderator?
The selectmen are the ones that put the warrant article on at their recent meeting on this past Thursday night, 2 nights ago. They have decided to ask to have it withdrawn. Now, one other option. The only other option is to say that you don't want to reconsider this, and generally that is used only if an article is totally repugnant. At this time, they just simply want to withdraw it and hope to bring it back next year. Anyone else? Mr. Damon?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Forgive me, I'm having
Mr.
issues.
Tom Damon?
Tom Damon, 401 Calefield Road. You know, the numbers here, I'm in favor of withdrawing this, but on a permanent basis. But 3.2 million would be our share on it. For 2/3 of the cost. Now, if the state goes at 80-20, that's not 2/3. That just doesn't make sense to me. I think our taxes are high enough now. The $3.2 million is inappropriate at any time, let alone now. The other comment I want to make is I want to invite the selectmen, the zoning committee, any elected official in town to take a ride by my house. You should have been there yesterday when all of the water that was draining off the hill up above me was on my front lawn. I had a cascade of water that went on for 12 hours. Mrs. Dame went out and took pictures of it. I called Mr. Alan Hansman, District Engineer, Sawmill Road, Guilford, DOT District 3. No response. This can has been kicked down the road since I lived here. They kicked it down for the first 10 years, they kicked it down for the next 10 years. It could be never. They could kick it at the end of the next 10-year period, they can kick it down the road another 10 years. This isn't going to get resolved. We need to litigate these people and force the state to rebuild this road. Stop sitting on your fannies and get this done.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
The way the bond article is written, the 3.2 million, that's the projected project cost, of which it's a 2/3 state, 1/3 town proportion, but we have to bond the entire project.
Peter, please state your name.
I thought I did. Peter Fogg again.
On the mic for the transcriber.
Okay, not seeing any other comments, I'm going to put the question to you. All those in favor of withdrawing Article number 3, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Article 3 has been withdrawn. Article number 4. It's the collective bargaining agreement with the Tilton Police Union, NEPBA. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost of items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Tilton Selectmen, the Tilton Police Union, NEPBA Local 29, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. Fiscal year 2021 to 2022, estimated increases of $33,463. For 2022 to 2023, $29,164. For 2023 to 2024, $29,164. And further, to raise and appropriate $15,466 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by this new agreement that would be paid at current staffing levels. This article has been recommended by both the Selectmen and also the Budget Committee. The moderator will now recognize Pat Constantino.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 4 as proposed.
Do we have a second?
Second, Joe Chestnut.
Seconded by Joe Jessamine. Pat Constantino, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The police union has been without a contract now for about a year and a half. We came to an agreement. It actually represents $15,466 this year because the contract begins in July, so it's only 6 months. This year it's a 70-cent raise, next year it's a 66-cent raise, and then the following year is a 66-cent raise, with one addition to a communications specialist, that's our dispatch supervisor, and the first year they get $1 only for the first year. So that's the money portion of it. The rest of the contract is language and with comp time, paid time off, and a couple of cleanup housekeeping items.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this warrant article? You give your name, please.
Jason Wright. Well, I support the concept, but I think our folks in uniform deserve a lift in pay. My question is, with regard to the language of current staffing levels, it's my understanding that we have several vacancies in the department as of late, and do these numbers reflect staffing that's currently in the building, or the desire to move staffing up and fill all those vacant positions? And if there's any plans for a hiring freeze with the challenges in the budget, or if we're going to fill every single spot that has been vacated with full-time equivalents, and or other additional hiring considerations being planned.
Thank you for the question. Who would like to answer that?
I'm going to try to...
Name first, please.
Pat Constantino, I'm going to try to address that. Currently, as it stands right now, we've hired MRI to seek out a police chief. We have several applications right now. We have interviews happening within the next couple of weeks for attorney prosecutor. We have hired Andrew Salmon, who used to work for us for 10 years as a police patrol officer. He starts his position here for March 29th. And Parker Normand was sworn in last week on March 8th. That fills our patrol offices. That fills our patrol positions that left. Nicole Plex was our communications supervisor that left and went to Belknap County. Is now back as a supervisor, so that filled our position, the dispatch person that left. So we are staffed back at the PD. Our detective that left, our supervisor detective that left and went to Plymouth, our Sergeant Keeler is filling that position currently now. So our staffing, as you see, has been filled. We have 8 patrol officers currently. So our desire, we haven't decided among the board whether to fill that 9th position as we had last year. That's the only position right now currently not filled. along with the captain or lieutenant, and we haven't decided at that point whether that's going to be, how that's going to be filled. Does that answer your question?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this? Yes.
Peter Fogg. The contract will apply to the patrolman through sergeant. Any high brass is not part of it, so even though we don't have a new chief, whatever, that will not impact this article.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? I'll read the article to see if, excuse me? I am, but I'm going to do this. To see if, Article 4, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost of the items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Tilton Selectmen and the Tilton Police Union, NEPD-A, Local 29, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at staffing level. Years 2021 to 2022, $33,463. 2022 to 2023, $29,164. 2023, 2024, $29,164. And further to raise and appropriate $15,466 for the current fiscal year. Such sum representing additional costs attributable to the increases in salaries and benefits required in the new agreement over that would be paid at the current staffing levels. This article has been approved by both the Budget Committee and the Select Board. At this point, because of the kind of item that it is, I am requiring a ballot vote. Do we have any people right now who would like a little extra help or time? If you do, go ahead and head over here to the supervisors. They will punch your orange card and hand you a ballot. Again, you just need to mark it yes or no. After doing so, please fold it in half, bring it around the side, and you can see the ballot box on the other side of what is called the handicap tent. Go right ahead, folks. Lauren, where are you? As soon as we get in time, I am going to encourage people to return to their seats. I will hold the polls open for another couple of minutes if there's anyone who has not yet voted. Is there anyone else who has yet to vote? Last call, anyone left? Anyone else needs to vote? Okay. The polls are now closed. I would ask the assistant moderators to please empty the ballot box. Bring the ballots down to the table over here to my left, and they will count them. At this time and point, we have had a request for a point of personal privilege for an award. And while the ballots are being counted, this is what we're going to do. So I am going to turn this over to Peter Fogg. For your attention, please.
Hold on, sorry, Peter, hold on, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Peter Fogg. At this point, could I have Timothy Pearson come over here? You're in the hot seat. Tim, on the behalf of the Select Board, it is my honor and privilege to announce this year's Community Service Award goes to Timothy F. Pearson, our Finance IT Director. Tim has always been an exemplary employee, hardworking, thoughtful, and looking out for the town through his efforts to save money, create efficiencies, and innovate. This year, Tim has gone above and beyond, and I expect, just as anyone who serves on the board or committees in this town can attest to that. With COVID-19 forcing us to do business in new ways, Tim stepped up to the plate to make sure that we had the technology we needed so that everyone could participate in the democratic process. Tim has many late nights providing his expertise to various committees, from the Budget Committee to Planning and Zoning, the Selectmen's meetings, Parks Commission, Sewer Commission, and more. On top of that, he helped manage the construction of our new police station, keeping a watchful eye on spending, technology, communications, as well as miscellaneous other needs. Said one colleague who serves with Tim on the Winnisquam Regional School District Budget Committee, thinking of the incredible contributions Tim makes to the Winnisquam Regional School District Budget Committee, it is unlikely that most Tilton residents probably do not even think about these. They wonder, as I do, how is it that Tim can find time for anything beyond all the incredible work that he is being recognized for at town meeting? Another co-worker said, Tim is a wealth of information, always ready to provide assistance, advice, and support, even when he is knee-deep in his own work, under pressure and under deadline. He is a rare breed and an amazing asset to our town. And we would be remiss if we did not thank Tim's wife, Maria, for putting up with the early mornings, late nights, and long weekends. Thank you, Maria and family. Please join the selectmen in a round of applause for Tim Pearson.
Now I have something to put up in my office. Raffle genies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you give them one. Just to add my 2 cents worth on this, as chair of the Conservation Commission, I've held a number of these online, many people call them Zoom meetings, the go-to meetings. And whenever there's been a difficulty, and this is when Tim is at home, he's right there, he's on the telephone, he has really gone far beyond the call of duty, believe me. I have the results of Article 4. A total of 44 people having voted, 38 in the affirmative and 6 in the negative. I declare that Article 4 passes. Now we move on to Article 5. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the Budget Committee's recommended sum of $5,985,356 for the general municipal operations. The recommended amounts do not include any special or individual warrant articles which will be addressed separately. To pass this, it only requires a majority vote. Do we have someone who is going to move this article? Christine, I recognize Christine, go ahead.
Test. Christine Dembinski. I move to have the town accept Article 5.
Okay, so Article 5 has now been moved. Do we have a second? Seconded by Pat Constantino. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Pat Constantino.
I would like to make a motion to amend line item 01644140303130, Town Clerk Tax Collector's salary from $65,670 to $66,314, which is the original request by the Town Clerk Tax Collector. This represents a 3% increase in her salary. The tax collector position, Town Clerk Tax Collector position is the only position that requires the legislative body to vote and approve the salary, and it should represent the requested amount by the Town Clerk Tax Collector.
You have a copy of that that you can bring up here to me?
I do.
Mr. Moderator?
Peter Fogg?
Peter Fogg, I second the amendment.
Let me reread the motion to amend. The line item was 01-64-4140-30-130. Town Clerk Tax Collector's salary from $65,670 to $66,314, which is the original request by the tax collector, town clerk. And this does represent a 3% increase in her salary. This position is the only position that requires the legislative body to approve the salary, and it should represent the requested amount. That has been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, and I read the article. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 5 has been duly amended to represent that change.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, concerns? Kathy, just a moment, please. Who is? Yeah, I also have one more. You want to do? I'm going to call on Catherine Dawson first, and then you, Judy. Catherine Dawson.
Before I make this motion, I want it to be clear that Catherine Dawson, resident, is making this motion, not the Budget Committee. So I'd like to make a motion to reduce the Budget Committee's recommended sum by removing $85,000 from line 01-78-4210.20-130 PD salaries, officers' wages.
Do you have a second? I see the hands of two people. What is one? Okay. Robert Charles? Okay. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. So, I've been saying this for years. I think we have too many staff at the PD. USA Facts provides a data-driven portrait of the American population, U.S. government's finances, and government's impact on society. They're a nonpartisan, nonprofit, civic initiative without a political agenda. That's where I got my information. Police funding is the second largest category of local government spending after education. On average, the United States spends $340 per person per year for public policing. The Tilton, Hampshire PD cost per capita is $645.58. Okay, we have a population of 2019 census of 2,540. Now I've got two comparisons. Meredith, New Hampshire PD cost per capita $336.24. They have a population of 6,456. Their total police budget, $1,460,607. Our total budget is $2,287,307. Belmont, New Hampshire, cost per capita, $315.52. They have 7,333. That's almost twice as many as the town of Tilton. Their police budget is $2,313,699.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion to amend? We're going to take just a moment until these folks have checked in here. Okay, anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion to amend? And again, I will read that. The motion is to reduce the Budget Committee's recommended sum in Article 5 to $5,900,036 by removing $85 from remove 85 from line item 01784210.20-130, which is the police department salaries, officers' wages, which would reduce that line item to $893,619. And since there were no other questions or comments, I am going to call, excuse me? Another question, okay. I did not see that earlier.
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to clarify.
Your name, please?
Tim Pearson. I just wanted to clarify the number that you stated for the bottom line budget would be incorrect because we had just added $644. So it would actually be $5,901,000. $5,901,000.
Okay, I guess the question there is that you just voted to increase the salary in the line item the town clerk. So the idea here is that the figure of which the total budget would not be what it's indicated here, but the idea is that you would be voting to reduce that line item by $85,000. Is that clear on the vote? Yes, sir.
Clerk, I'd like to make a comment about the size of the police department. I had a cousin of mine who was police chief back in my hometown. We were talking about that, and he said it's not the number of people that you have in town that are sleeping there for the evening, it's the number of people that come and go during the day. Because of the Exit 20 commercial development, we have a tremendous amount of outside the town people that come in every day. I remember that when they did the study for putting in Home Depot, the traffic study, there were more people that were passing by on Route 3, Laconia Road, than there were on 93. That's quite an amount of traffic that goes through. So I appreciate, and I might even support that, Catherine, but I'd like to have more information about the number of calls that they make and also the number of traffic that comes into town compared to the other towns you were talking about.
The moderator recognizes Catherine Dawson.
So the reason I picked the two towns I did, Meredith, I think their commercial area is probably bigger than ours. Anybody who's trying to get there on a Saturday to go up towards North Conway, Send Harbor, or come back has experienced their traffic flow. And Belmont has Route 3 corridor between Winnisquam and Laconia. They also have 106, so that's why I compared the two, because the traffic flow is probably similar with visitors and whatnot coming through.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, microphone 2.
Kirk Young, Tilton. It seems like the data that's being presented is cherry-picked to support her position. It doesn't seem like there's any other relevant data that would support the questions at hand about the number of calls or how the department is run, or other data that would prove the numbers per capita spending per person. So I don't think it's fair that the data presented seems to just support one side and that there's no other relevant data. You can't guess at how many calls in Meredith if, I think this is busier, I think that's yet you're asking us to make a decision based on what you think, and there's no data there. The only data presented is cherry-picked to support the position.
recognizes Mr. Damon. State your name when you get to the microphone. The microphone gets to you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Tom Damon, live on Calefield Road. I had an interview with a former police chief some time ago, and I asked him point blank how many people he protects every day. The police chief said, on an average day, he's protecting 10,000 people. And in season, he's protecting between 15 and 20,000 people a day. And the calls for service in Tilton are twice that it is of Northfield, and they are 10 times as many as in Sandwichton, which is not a fair comparison. But you can see by those numbers how busy the Tilton Police Department is taking care of non-residents, traffic accidents or whatever. And I asked him, the former police chief, if there was anything to be done about it. And he says when they call for service, we have to answer that call, no matter what. I've been in towns where I called for service and the dispatcher said we're busy. And it was 15-minute response time. This can't happen here. But we've got to let the business, the big box stores know that it's coming to a head. This town cannot sustain this. Somewhere, at some time, someplace, it's going to come to a head, and the bubble is going to burst. So you people have to decide what you're going to do. You're going to support the big box stores, or you're going to support the residents of the town. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to speak? I will read this one last time. Motion is to reduce the Budget Committee's recommended sum, Article 5, by removing $85,000 from the police salaries, officers' wages, and to reduce that line item to $893,619. Are there any questions on the article or the motion to amend? Seeing none, yes, one question. Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Hannity, Tilton resident. From what I can understand, you want to reduce the amount that the police department's getting paid, or what they're going to do to support the police department in Tilton. If this is the case, which I came in late, how could you verify anything that's going to be done to hinder the police department from doing their job? I think we have a shortage now of police officers in Tilton. You make a brand new department for them. However, quite a number of the police have left. Have anyone been hired to take their place? Now, if you're going to reduce the budget for them, what happens in the long run, say, if they need new equipment, if they need cars, if they need someone to sustain the building? If you're getting more police in and you have a budget shortage, how can you rectify the situation when there's not enough money to get more police into Tilton? I think this would be more of a harmful effect to take money away. I think you may lose police in the meantime. Rather than get them in, and we see where they're going, they're on the streets directing traffic when they're fixing utility lines, when they could be out on duty doing something else. These guys work very hard, and they're here to support us. And I think taking away this from them isn't going to show that Tilton is supporting them. Thank you.
Moderator recognizes Jason Wright.
Yes,
Moderator recognizes Joe Jessup.
Yes. I agree. Yeah, okay. There we go. I'm going to vote yes on her amendment, but for a totally different reason. The budget is a bottom line budget. once it's approved here at town meeting, the selectmen can do with the money what needs to be done, include moving it around as circumstances dictate. I don't think we need to raise and appropriate that particular $85,000. But if circumstances dictate that we'd have to hire another officer, and we have money to hire another officer. So we're not hurting the police department. The police department will be just fine. I don't think we need to raise that particular money, but police officers.
Jason, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jason Wright. Just to address the comments of the previous speaker, who I think might have run for office without understanding how the numbers work. Vehicles, for example, are paid for out of the detail fund. When the police go and do details, that money goes into a fund to pay the hourly rate for the detail officer, but it also accrues into a fund, and that's where we buy the cruisers. That notwithstanding, I think we've been a little liberal on the number of vehicles that we've purchased, and we have a little bit of extra rolling stock, which is something that the select board may consider in the future. We have the top 3 leadership positions in the police department, all with take-home vehicles, unmarked, and my understanding, not taxed in accordance with IRS standards. 2 of those vehicles went out of town just about every day, which is high mileage, maintenance, fuel, tires, and everything else. And the third one remained with a sergeant became a lieutenant that stayed in town and was probably pretty low miles, which is the other worst thing you can do to a vehicle. So don't worry about cars. We have plenty of them rolling around. We should probably have a yard sale before we make leadership changes at the police department, and we continue to buy them out of the detail fund. That's that. I don't know with the rest of the voting body if they have other amendments for specific lines. I've got a stack of amendments here for the bottom line, which is I think the number we all need to focus on to send the message back to the selectmen that voted for the increase and the budget committee majority that voted for the increase to approve all the department requests, because if you look at the summary, the departments put in their requests, a majority of the select board ratified it dollar for dollar, and a majority of the budget committee ratified the selectmen's budget dollar for dollar, no change. So we can vote this one up or down, but I've got plenty of amendments waiting for the bottom line for us to get creative and pull our tax bills back in line. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
I believe that what we're discussing is to remove the $85,000 from a salary and benefits line and not necessarily talking about other aspects of the budget. I'm hoping comments are addressed at that. Microphone 2.
Adam Sadler. I do have a conflict of interest as I am a police department employee. I just wanted to present Meredith calls for service numbers as those are available on the internet.
Can you speak up a little louder?
Yep. The town of Tilton, as presented in the annual report, handled just under 25,000 calls for service last year, and Meredith did 12,000. The Tilton police officers made 365 arrests, and Meredith made 195. And the Tilton police officers handled 248 felony investigations, and Meredith handled 71. As well, Meredith went to 182 accidents, and Tilton went to, anyways, the numbers are all available on the internet. Sorry, it's 405. Tilton went to 405 collisions, Meredith went to 182. Just while we're comparing budgets, the Tilton call volume is much higher than Meredith. Thank you.
The moderator recognizes Pat Constantino.
Pat Constantino, I believe that we can, after our recent study that we have done, we can safely absorb that $85,000 in changing the command staff. So I would be in favor of the reduction of $85,000.
Anyone else wish to speak? Wait a minute. Okay. Moderator recognizes Peter Fogg.
Peter Fogg. I'm finishing my 6th year as selectman. In those 6 years, I've always been asking, can I see a list of calls for service? Up until the current administrator, I never could, so I couldn't determine. You have a car accident, 3 cruises, is that 1 call or 3? All I got was this number of calls for service this year. So it's hard to base it on just numbers alone with no data to back it up.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, again, I'm going to repeat it and then we'll go to the vote. Motion is to reduce the Budget Committee's recommended sum in Article 5 by removing $85,000 from the line of police salaries, officers' wages, which would reduce that line item. And again, that amount of money changes a little bit from what I have because of the increase in salary that was previously voted. Okay, so here we go. All those in favor of the motion to reduce the salary line by $85,000, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. I am not sure, so what we're going to do is ask you to please take your voter cards, and I want to ask you to hold up your voter card. From this line over here, Bob, I want you to take that side, and on that side, Linda. Okay, those in favor of the motion to reduce the salary line by $85,000, please hold your cards up. You got all these? Okay, those opposed to the salary cut of $85,000, please hold your cards up. There are 29 voting in the affirmative, which means yes, they are in favor of cutting that line item by $85,000, and 16 voting no. So the motion to amend the budget by $85,000 on that line item has passed. Do we have any other? I think we do.
Quick question on another line item for the PD. The new electricity for the new building, I don't know if anyone can address this. Last year it was $4,604. This is on page 12 if anyone needs. And the department request now, instead of $4,600, is $34,600 with a brand new building with brand new HVAC components. Why the huge increase? Can anyone address that?
Everybody hear the question?
Joe Tesser.
The moderator will recognize Joe Jesserman.
Joe Jesserman, there we go. Yeah, I would defer to Tim Pearson, who has the facts about those figures.
Okay, the moderator recognizes Tim Pearson.
Hi, Tim Pearson. So yes, the line is significantly increased, and there are a few others. These were some of the major increases in the budget due to the new building. So the new building is roughly 5 times the size above ground of the old police station, and the only numbers that we were able to put together for heating and electricity came from the engineers that designed all the components for the building. They used our past history, they used police electricity and the heating, but essentially with the costs that we have in the budget for 21 are practically proportional to the size difference between the two spaces. They're very close. The reality is that we have a lot of energy efficiency in the new building. We don't know what our experience is going to be yet. All the lighting is LED. The lighting in our old building was LED for the most part. We had converted that over time. In the new building, it's all motion activated. And so until we have firm numbers through the course of the year, we won't know a firm budget figure.
Are there any other questions on the budget? Moderator's first recognizing Mr. Davis at microphone 2.
Scott Davis, 5 Lincoln Ave. Can somebody explain to me on the Parks Commission line expenses 01894520999932? We're up to $34,500. We budgeted $25,000 last year. We've only expended $16,000, but this year it's up to $34,000.
Okay, so the question has to do with the Parks Commission budget. I'll tell you what, the moderator is going to recognize Bob Hardy.
Yes, Robert Hardy, Parks Chair. The reason for that is we need a new roof on the pavilion, and that budget increase is one of the estimates. We're trying to get 3 estimates. We've only been able to secure one before the budget was submitted, and that's reflected in that $34,000. So.
Is that going to be a metal roof? Is it going to be replaced with a metal roof instead of shingles?
We're pricing both, Scott.
And the only reason I say that is we've had to put that park together in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So we're only 15 years out, we're already replacing the roof.
Yes.
So I have a concern as a citizen that we're just going to be coming back here and replacing a roof every 15 years if we don't do something different.
Thank you, Scott.
And we are going to get 3 bids, I hope, also. That brings me to my other point. We talk about the PD building just with the expense on electricity. I hope that for the sake of the taxpayers looking into the future, that a capital reserve fund is put together by the select board and brought to the people for a roof replacement on that building, because that shingles also. And I hope we don't short-sight ourselves and not put money away into and design a capital reserve fund for the building, for that police building roof maintenance. Because that's going to hit us, and it's probably a couple $100,000 to do that roof more now. And what will it be in the future? Much more. Thank you.
The moderator is going to recognize Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Jason Wright.
Jason Wright. I'll tell you what, it's been a tough year for everybody. And my tax bill, and some of your other tax bills in town, they have gone up in the last year or 2. All right? Mine went up $2,000. That represents a 25% increase on my home alone. And I've talked to a lot of my neighbors in town that have experienced a tax increase, a big one. Now, I get that it's not all the town. There's things we have to deal with our school district budget. There's things we have to deal with the fire district budget. But today, we need to put a cap. We need to control the spending, okay? Year after year, things just get up and up and up. Now, the example this year, there's folks out of work. There's folks that are being challenged. There's folks on fixed incomes. I still work full-time, but I work for the state. That's a fixed income. A lot of people that are working are on fixed incomes. I couldn't walk into my boss and say, could I have an extra $2,000? And guess what? I have a mortgage, so my mortgage company thankfully took the shock absorber for that $2,000, paid it, and now I have to pay into my escrow account an extra $300 a month. So that $2,000 tax increase, for me personally, is now $3,600 a year. The spending has to stop. It has to get capped, it has to get controlled, it has to be creative. What happened this year, and I apologize to the folks that are standing here because I know some of you worked hard, but I don't think all of you worked hard. Now, the departments put together their requests, and the selectmen, by a majority vote, I understand it happened. Listen, I'll tell a story on Monday night with the Fire District Budget Committee, and that's what we're here to discuss, but things happen. Oh, I have an amendment, so that gives me 5 minutes. Should I present the amendment first, Mr. Moderator?
At this point, you were speaking to the main motion as it was Article 5. If you have a motion to amend something, would you please present that?
Certainly. Amended Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the budget, cross that out. Raise and appropriate the sum of $5,636,749 for general municipal operations. This amount does not include special or individual warrant articles addressed separately. A majority vote is required.
You have to sign it, bring it up here, present it to the town clerk, give me a copy of that, or I want a copy of it. And it does nothing until I have a second. Does everyone here know what the article is? Let me just, is there a second? Okay, a second by Catherine Dawson. Now, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to ask Mr. Pearson to do some math. And let me read this and then you can speak to your motion, or did you speak to it prior to offering it?
The math is pretty simple, so Tim can...
Okay, to see if the town will raise and appropriate, you wrote in $5,636,749 for the general municipal operation. This does not include any special warrant articles. So I guess what I'm going to need to know is from Mr. Pearson, how much of a, or do you know right now how much of a budget cut you are proposing?
What that is since the Sewer Commission reduced their budget by 10%, that's the 636 part, and I'm asking that the town cap the spending at an even $5 million. $5 million for the town, 636 for the sewer, because we already did, at the Sewer Commission, we already dropped ours by 10%. And the other $5 million goes to the town.
Tim, do you have any numbers yet?
It looks like it's 264, 251 less what has already been changed. So in other words, his reduction was prior to the reduction of the, it's not, bottom line. So, give me a minute.
Just so that I fully understand, and I'm sure that the rest of you do too before you vote on any such thing, I want to know the total dollars of the amount of the cut, and I also want to know what percentage that is of the whole budget. Can you give me that amount, Tim?
Tim Pearson, may I ask a question? So from the original budget amount of $5,985,356, is that correct?
All right, so here's what I would have done, okay? So I didn't go 10% because that would have been an awful big cut. Even though my tax bill went up 25%, I'm not asking for all 25% off my bill. I'm asking that the town look a little harder, and I didn't even do 10% because I thought that was going to be pretty aggressive. I'm asking that the town cap the spending on their portion at an even $5 million. I can sit down and do the percent for you, but then the budget, the sewer already did their 10% reduction, so they're down to 636. So you're I can pull up the summary. What was the budget number pre-sewer?
Pre-sewer was
like
5,348,607.
Okay, so I'm asking for a reduction of 348 on the town side.
Mr. Moderator, this is Tim Pearson. I'd just like to point out that our tax rate from 2019 to 2020 for the town portion of the rate went from $6.38 down to $6. But I will figure out what the request is in terms of percentage.
You know, I'm sorry, Tim, I'm having a little bit trouble hearing to fully understand what you said. You could just repeat that a little louder, please?
I was just pointing out that the tax rate, there's a lot of things that go into individuals' taxes. It has to do with their assessments and also the budget, revenues, and our tax rate from 2019 to 2020 actually the municipal portion went from $6.38 down to $6 in 2020. So we actually had a reduction on the municipal tax rate year over year.
I have a question on that testimony, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, I'm still looking for the total number of dollars that you're anticipating cutting, and I want to know what percentage that is of the whole budget. Can you answer that?
I can, Mr. Moderator, but I have a question about the testimony that was just offered.
Okay, you want to make
I
a
just want to
comment?
ask.
All right, Jason, go ahead.
All right, so the question is, even though we had a dip in the rate, have we started making payments on the $4.7 million police department? When's the first payment? How much is it each year? And what's the impact going to be on our tax rate when we start making payments on the new building?
Mr. Moderator? Tim Pearson, may I answer that question?
Tim, yes, go right ahead, please.
So the bond will be a 1.9% 20-year bond with no prepayment penalty. We will be executing that in the next month. We'll be, and if you look in our debt schedule, you'll see that we've layered it in such a way that there's interest payment only in 2021, interest in principal in 2022, and full payment in 2023. And at the same time of the 2023 payment, we actually have a reduction in our other long-term debt, so it eases the full payment. It works out to be roughly, with the adoption of the warrant article, applying the proceeds of the old police station, it works out to be about a $259,000 full payment once we're paying for the entire police station, and that is just under 41 cents per thousand.
I have your number.
Okay, Jason, give me that number, please.
All right, so backing out the $360,963 in the original presented number to even $5 million, that represents a 6.7% decrease in what the departments requested, not what the selectmen approved and not what the budget committee approved. So the budget went up approximately 2.9% in this year for what the departments requested. So I'm asking that 3%, that 2.9 go down, and I'm looking for another 3% out of that. So 6.7 over the department requests, not either of the approval lines, to an even $5 million plus the sewer commission amount.
So you're saying your proposal right now, just so that I'm clear, is that you are proposing on basically cutting the budget of 6.7%?
Essentially, yes, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you. Scott Davis?
Mr. Moderator, I think what Jason should be saying is that he's going to reduce the budget by $264,151, which would be the amount, because we've already increased with the town clerk tax collector $644, and then we've subtracted the $85,000. So when you bring that number, and then that brings you to $900,900, and then you subtract the $5,636,749 that he presented. It's a reduction of $264,151.
Okay, so basically it's reducing the budget approximately by $264,000, or 6.7%. Are there any other questions or comments on the motion to amend to this new line item number, this new total budget number? Pat?
Obviously, I'm vehemently opposed to this. $264,000 out of the budget will severely compromise the services of the town of Tilton. It could lead to layoffs and really compromise the services could lead to your trash pickup. I mean, there's a lot of things to take into consideration on what this budget compromises. Or $264,000 is an awful lot to take out of a budget.
Jason, before you respond, is there anyone else who would like to talk on this motion to amend? Okay, Jay, since he hasn't spoken yet, John, we'll let John speak and then I'll come back to you. John?
So, I was ex officio on the budget committee as well as working on the selectmen end of the budget. This year was very difficult. The selectmen sent back to the Department of Public Works and the police department their budget. I believe it was 3 times. 3 times they sent back, that's not good enough. Cut more, cut more. See what you can do without. Trim those numbers. We never did that before, like we did this year. Our Public Works Director, I believe, and they're right on the line with what it takes to actually operate the town and no frills. That's where we're at right now. We did trim it because we were concerned about the tax rises, so it's very lean right now, leanest I've ever seen it.
Jason?
I have a question based on that testimony. Public Works just hired a new full-time equivalent, correct? Yes. So, I don't think going back to that particular department is telling them to do their best when they just hired one more full-time person. So, I understand, Pat, $260-something thousand is a lot of money. But $5 million is an even bigger amount of money. That's a lot of money. If you can't run this town on $5 million, then you need to look a little harder and maybe find some other creative. I have a top 10 list of things you can do. Listen, I've ran for selectmen a couple times. I got plenty of ideas, and you guys are the professionals. You guys are the tenured, elected, and re-elected personnel. If you can't run this town on $5 million, you got no business doing it.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, there is an amendment. John?
I just have one question. Which lines are you suggesting that we cut from? I mean, I've spent, and the budget committee and the selectmen have spent many, many hours and months working on this budget to make it as lean as possible. Which lines in particular could you let me know, or suggestions?
As I said before, I'm a state employee. When COVID hit in the middle of last summer, I'm not a COVID crazy person, okay? My boss had to go and say, at budget time, he had to go into his commissioner and say, because he was challenged with creating his budget, and that was the green light budget. Then he had to go in and create a budget that was 10% less than what he was hoping for. And then he had to create a very painful budget that was 20% less. So this goes on all the time at government level entities. You have your wish list, a 10%, and then a 20%, which is the red zone. That's very dangerous, okay? Nobody wants to take a 20% cut in their services in there. But I think the spending is getting out of hand, the hiring, the use of hours. I mean, you have planning board, for example. Look at the planning board. All the cases fit on one page. You have a full-time person making more than we've ever paid a town planner, and you get a part-time assistant for one page of planning board cases.
I think we're getting off the
Yeah,
question about which line item.
Mr. Moderator can play this game all day long, but you got 5 paid professionals and a budget committee doing that job.
Microphone one.
Matthew Mitchell, I move the question.
It has been called. Seconded. All those in favor of moving the question say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, we'll get to the vote. I'm going to read it. To see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $5,636,749 for the general municipal operations. This does not include any special or individual warrant articles addressed separately, requires only a majority vote. This does equate to approximately 6.7% and $264,000 in cuts. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. The motion to amend fails. I so rule. We're back to the original motion on Article 5, which is the town's budget. So far, since what was originally published, we increased the salary of the town clerk, and then we took $85,000 out of the salary line for the police. Right now, Tim, you have the last number.
Mr. Moderator, it's $5,901,000.
$5,901,000. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Let me go back to my Article 5. Article 5 reads, to see that the town will vote and raise the appropriate the budget committee's recommended sum of $5 million, and it's going to be $901,000. For the general municipal operations, the recommended amounts do not include any special warrant articles addressed separately. All those in favor of the article to pass the budget say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. I declare the ayes have it. Article 6. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $275,000 for the purposes of paying down the debt service for the construction of the new police station authorized in the 2020 warrant Article 3, with said funds to come from the sale of the former police building. This article was recommended by the Selectmen as well as the Budget Committee. I'm calling on Eric Tyra.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
I move that the town adopt Article 6. I do have an amendment to Article 6.
Let's move the article first, because I need a second. Seconded by Cindy Reinhardt. Eric, please talk about your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,000 for the purpose of paying down debt service for the construction of the new police station authorized in the 2020 warrant article, with said funds to come from the sale of the former police department building.
Okay, the only difference is a change from $275,000 to $290,000 because that represents the actual sale price of the building. Are there any questions? Seconded by Scott Davis. Any questions? Comments? All those in favor say, wait a minute, Scott Davis.
You're moving too fast, Mr. Moderator. Question, can we have the sale price? Is that available to the public?
Yeah, I have that. At the time, when the warrant articles were created, we didn't have the exact number. The sale generated $295,668. The balance of the proceeds would go to the general fund and pay for the move of the generator of the old generator.
And that was a sales price there, $295?
$315, but then you have commissions and whatnot.
Thank you. I support this article. I think this is the proper way to do it to the townspeople.
Anyone else like to speak to this motion? It's not like I'm trying to rush to get out of here, believe me. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to read this again. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,000 for the purpose of paying down the debt service for the construction of the new police station authorized on the 2020 warrant Article 3, with said funds to come from the sale of the former police department building. This article is recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. All those in favor of this article, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 6 passes. Article 7. Point of order. Excuse me? Thank you very much. I stand corrected. That was just the amendment. Now we have amended the main Article 6 to say, thank you, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,000 for the purpose of paying down the debt service for the construction of the new police station authorized in the 2020 warrant Article 3, and said funds to come from the sale of the former police department building. This article is recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. Okay, any questions or comments on this now? This is the main motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 6 passes. Thank you. Article 7. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to be added to the Tilton Senior Expendable Trust Fund, previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. This article is recommended by the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. The moderator will call on Pat Constantino.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town adopt Article 7 as proposed.
Okay, it has been moved for Article 7 by Pat Constantino. Do we have a second? Jason Wright, the second. Pat, you want to speak on this as the maker of the motion?
This is an expendable trust that we established last year for maintenance and expenses for the town building called the Senior Center. This is extra things that happened last year. We had to put in, I think it was last year, the year before, that we had to put in, what do they call them, trusses, not trusses, floorboards underneath the kitchen, floor joists underneath the kitchen. Then we had a cistern because it was falling in the middle. There wasn't any. We had to add insulation, and then we were going to add an extra cost of filling in the holes along the stone foundation. But our Selectman John Scanlon, and a blueberry pie from Pat Constantino, he went underneath and filled it all in for us. So this trust fund allows us to go in, and it's approved by the Selectmen and the trustee of the trust funds that runs this fund. So we'll be able to go in and repair anything necessary to the building.
Yes?
Mr. Moderator, I have an amendment to Article 7. Jason Wright.
Yes, Jason.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to be added to the Tilton Senior Center Expendable Trust Fund, previously established, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. A majority vote is required.
Do we have a second?
Who's that?
Okay, bring a copy of that up here. That seconded was by Bob Kennedy, correct? Thank you. I'm going to read this again. It says, to see if the town will vote to raise $3,000 of the Tilton's expendable trust fund previously established, said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. Majority vote required to pass this. Well, that's kind of a decision of the body, but yes. You had that already, Jason. Go right ahead, speak to it.
So, reading in the annual report, I mean, I know there's $5,000 already sitting there that didn't appear to be spent, but it sounds as if there's been some expenses and ongoing. And thanks to Pat for explaining that, I thought this was just a van that sits idly across the street and, you know, really needs to get on the road and do what it's supposed to do. So, I know there's money in this fund already. I don't believe we need to spend more tax dollars. And speaking with our finance director, there's over $600,000 in the unassigned fund balance, and I think we can afford this $3,000 to come from there rather than through a new tax.
Moderator calls on Pat Constantino.
This does include, this I forgot, and Jeannie reminded me, this does include the maintenance also in the operation of the bus. And thank you, Jason, but it does not sit idle. We've had 42 calls this month. The issue with the bus, we only have one driver. 42 people we've driven to appointments this month, this past month in February and March. So it does not sit idle. It would be used a lot more if we had a lot of drivers, which is what I was going to plead later on for volunteer drivers. We put aside money for other buildings. We talked about it with Riverfront Place and the roof and things like that for fund balances and look ahead and be proactive. There are things, it's a very, very old building. We have a stove oven right now that's almost 80 years old. We can't find parts for it now. It's a gallon, 10 burner, 2 oven. We can't find parts for it now. We're going to have to replace that in the very near future. Jane and I are going to write a grant for that. We can't find a grant. We have to have a commercial oven for the seniors. And there's problems with the outbuilding that are going to come up. There's beams that need to be replaced there. So there are things that we have to be proactive on. If we wait for unfunded balance, I know, I can't see you. If we wait for unfunded balance, it's an unpredictable amount. That's a risk that we're taking, and I'm not in favor of that. Let's be proactive and put a little bit of money away every year for it. Thank you.
Now remember, this is not a debate back and forth, Jason.
I just want to be clear.
Okay, I just want to see, is there anyone else who wants to speak on this before Jason does again? Mr. Dana?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Tom Damon. I'm 75 years old. My wife is 80 years old. And I don't understand why you can't go out and raise this from private funds. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I understand the citizens of the seniors from Belmont are allowed to come to that center too. I'm at a loss here. My taxes are killing me. And now you want to appropriate another $3,000. I mean, this is nickel dime. I understand that. But jeepers creepers, you know, you can't go out there and ask somebody for $3,000. Come on.
Jason is next, please.
Mr. Damon's point well taken. This is why I made the amendment to not have it as a part of the tax bill. It would be coming out of the unassigned fund balance, which our finance director has confirmed this morning carries at least $616,000. $3,000, it's just a bookkeeping adjustment to take $3,000 from the unassigned fund balance, which is based on money that, guess what, wasn't spent. Money that wasn't spent, and just move it over to the senior center. It's not about whether you support seniors or not, it's just, let's not have it on our tax bill.
Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Bob Yandy. I just wanted to ask a question. The old police department, that was owned by the town of Tilton? I'm not familiar. We didn't own it. Did anybody look into purchasing that building, since I think it's newer than the senior center now, and converting that into the senior center? Since it's already built, all they have to do is just refurbish it, maybe get a stove, I don't know if it had a kitchen or whatever, but that's something that should have been looked into, that we could have kept, and just moved the Tilton Center for seniors over to that building. Rather than go in and do all the refurbishing in the old building, maybe this building could have been used for that kind of a usage. Thank you.
We have, yes, Catherine Dawson.
I think we have to remember that this building the senior center is in is owned by the town of Tilton. Before it was a senior center, it was a historical society meeting place, and then the selectmen said, yes, senior center. So we would be maintaining that building because we own it, regardless of what agency was in it. Now that building, there's 2 buildings there. We've had to put roofs on it, there's been plumbing issues, there's been a lot of things beyond normal maintenance. $3,000 a year isn't a lot for maintaining a building. And you have to remember that $3,000 includes maintaining the van and the building. So that senior center group does a lot of fundraising because it costs far more than $3,000 to run the van and the building. I think it's short money for us to have the senior center in town, in our building.
I got John Scanlon, then Scott, then Pat.
So last year, when I saw the cost of doing some of the work on the insulating and that and getting the plumbing from freezing, I said, I'll do it for a blueberry pie. I climbed underneath. I got some great blueberry pies and muffins. That's the way it works. It's very short money. I think it cost us about $50 to fix it. This year, one of the big things is it's not insulated above the main room. I volunteered. We can get that insulation. I'll go up there, I'll install it, no cost to the town. So we do a lot of things to get money and to save these things. It would be enormous cost to have somebody come in and do that, but volunteers are all doing these things. We use help from the prisons to do some carpentry work. A lot of seniors, we've had local businesses donate things. That's why it's only $3,000 to maintain this building and make it better. Thank you.
Microphone 2, Scott.
Mr. Moderator, Scott Davis. I think whether it comes out of our taxes or our unreserved fund balance, it still came from our taxes. But this is a small amount of money. I mean, the seniors enjoy it up there. We own the building. We're going to have to maintain the building. We're not going to let it fall down around them. I think this is a new issue. I mean, the seniors, we do so much for our children. Why can't we help the seniors? I agree with this. I think it's foolish that we're debating on $3,000.
Pat Constantino, you're next on speaking on order.
Thank you. I was just going to refer to Tom Damon about coming from the taxpayers' money. The senior center has been in existence now for 11 years. In May, we have fundraised all our activities to keep that senior center open. The maintenance in The town has supplied the maintenance of that building. To keep the senior center open, we have fundraised all our monies in extra maintenance and extra like electrical plugs and things like that. We've even fundraised that monies to do that and put up closets and things like that. That's all been out of our pockets of all the people on the committee to do that for 10 years.
Microphone one.
At Norton East Main Street, I'd like to make a motion to amend this motion to include a blueberry pie for Jones. Thank you.
Thank you for your sense of humor. However, it is contrary to amend a motion to amend. Microphone two.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to call the question. Clerk Young.
Clerk Young has called the question. Is there anyone that's opposed to voting right now? Then I will not bother to. Mr. Yanity? One last comment?
I just want to make it clear, Mr. Moderator, I'm not against the senior center by all means. I am a senior. My question was, and I hope everybody understands.
Bob, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. The motion to call the question was already made.
Oh.
It's now too late. All those in favor of ending debate, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. We'll read the amended article. Excuse me. I am getting to the amendment right now, sir. This is an amendment to Article number 7. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 to be added to the Tilton Center expendable trust fund previously established with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. Everyone clear on what the vote is? This is an amendment to Article 7. 7. Thank you. All those in favor of this article to amend, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Nay. I believe the nays have it, but I'm going to call for the cards to come up, please. Bob and Linda, get ready. Those in support of the amendment to change the funding source of the $3,000 from the budget to the unassigned fund balance. Those in favor of this amendment, please hold your cards up. Those opposed, hold your cards up, please. Well, it appears that the anyway, the article to amend has passed 23 to 18. So now this is amending Article 7, so I will read Article 7 as amended. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 to be added to the Tilton Center Senior Center Expendable Trust Fund previously established with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. Any questions on the main motion now? Comments? All those in favor then of Article 7, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 7 as amended passes. Article number 8. Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve. Previously established, this appropriation is not included in the operating budget. It's recommended by both the Select Board and the Budget Committee. The moderator will call on John Scanlon to make the motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 8 as proposed.
Second.
Seconded by Pat Constantino. John, would you like to speak to the motion?
Okay, so this is one of the articles that we do every year so that we put some money into our capital reserve fund for the highway equipment so that we do not get hit all of a sudden with a big bill as we replace equipment. Current balance in the fund is $81,031.63. So adding the $35,000 brings it up to $116,031.63. Some of the purchases that we're planning on is a sidewalk machine, and that is a cost of around $100,000. Realizing that's a lot of money for a sidewalk machine, but we're going back to a track machine that will be able to handle the sidewalks. It will also come with, there's a V-plow, the snow blower, and also will be able to do the sanding. This machine is expected to easily last 25 years or more. Thank you.
Jason, microphone 1.
Jason Wright. I have an amendment to Article 8. I do support the concept of putting money away every year just to buy the equipment. This has been very successful for the fire district, and it's a great way to go. And thank you for reporting out on what the planned purchases are, because that's important. While I may not agree with a 25-year life expectancy on a piece of equipment, we're certainly going to get more than 2 or 3 years. If it takes us 3 or 4 years to save up to buy it, we'll certainly get that use longer than that. So that's great. We're doing the right thing. My amendment goes to the funding source. Again, $616,000, less than $3,000 we give it to the Senior Center Fund, which I think is also a great cause, would still leave us in fine shape in the unassigned fund balance. So my amended Article 8 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $35,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, previously established, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. A majority vote is required.
Is there a second to the amendment that is being proposed by Jason? I see a hand raised. Please, your name? Ellen?
Belair.
Ellen Belair. Thank you. Well, Jason, I guess before you actually presented this, you kind of spoke to it, but you want to say anything as the maker of a motion to amend?
No, I think we need to get more comfortable with looking at the unassigned fund balance. I understand we don't want to run it dry, and there's bills that need to be paid back and forth out of that, but I think having more than $500,000 in that unassigned fund balance leaves us in fair shape, and we've already seen the voters here really just wanted to get, a higher tax bill, and I'm trying to do some things here creatively to keep our tax bill in check.
Okay, the moderator is going to Tim Pearson first.
Tim Pearson, I just wanted to point out to the legislative body that an unassigned fund balance is not a cash balance. It is a complicated factor, but essentially it's almost like a net assets. So it's wrapped up into illiquid things within the town. So we just have to be careful as we look at how we're approaching that. And also, the town has historically kept a very low percentage of fund balances compared to our budget, which the New Hampshire Government Finance Officers Association in our Department of Revenue Administration tax rate setting as guidelines for cities and towns of what percentage they should keep. And we've historically been on the low end of that, anywhere from 5 to 8%. So it is, I just wanted to make it known that this is not a bank account that we have. It is, it's not cash.
Pat Constantino.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was going to defer to Tim to answer that question, but you already did. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this motion to amend? Catherine Dawson?
I just wanted to remind the body that the Board of Selectmen often uses money from the unassigned fund balance at the end of the year to reduce the tax rate.
Anyone else? Let me read the motion. To see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate $35,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established, and said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. Okay, all those in favor of this amendment on Article 8, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. I rule that it fails. We're back to the original Article 8. Call the question. Okay, you're ready, here we go. To see if the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. It's recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. I rule that Article 8 passes. Article 9. Town roads, bridges, sidewalks, capital reserve fund, Article 9. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $90,000 to be added to the town roads, bridges, sidewalks, and capital reserve fund. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. This article is recommended by both the Select Board and the Budget Committee, and I'm calling on Peter Fogg.
Peter Fogg, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 9 as proposed.
Is there a second? Pat Constantino. Peter.
Peter Fogg. Currently, the Capital Reserve Fund has a balance of $144,411.03. With the addition of the $90,000 brings the new balance to $234,411.03. Projects anticipated for the coming year. The south side of the Main Street sidewalk and part of West Main. It'll start by Riverfront Park and then head easterly to Island Park. That section of sidewalks will be redone. In addition, Academy Street, we're going to be doing Phase 1 construction project. There will be a retaining wall put up between the road and the Water District's facility. There'll be drainage, base layer of asphalt with an expected completion in November. This project is going to require coordination with both the local water district and sewer so that they get their improvements in before the road gets completed. The second phase for this project would be in 2022, and that would include the wearing course, guardrail, and any other cleanup. This is one of the regular funds that we try to keep money in.
Do we have any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll reread the article and we'll vote. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $90,000 to be added to the town roads, bridges, and sidewalks capital reserve fund. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. The article is recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. All those in favor of Article number 9, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 9 passes, and so declared. Article 10, Capital Reserve Fund. See if the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000 to be added to the reevaluation capital reserve fund established in 2002. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget, and it is recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. The moderator will call on Joe Jessamine.
Mr. I move that the town adopt Article 10 as proposed.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Pat Constantino. I think I saw Scott. Was your hand up too? No? Okay, Joe.
All right, the capital reserve fund has a balance of $38,764.89. $9,000 would bring us up to $47,764.89. The capital reserve fund is used to pay the cost of the town revaluation done every 5 years. The next revaluation is in 2024.
Moderator has a question, perhaps you can answer that. I am just curious, what is the cost for a reevaluation?
Tim?
Mr. Moderator, Tim Pearson, I believe that is, I'm pulling it up, remember correctly, it's $80,000 in the 5th year.
Okay, so it's just, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to read the article again and then we'll vote. Article 10, to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000 to be added to the reevaluation capital reserve fund established in 2002. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. This article is recommended by the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. All those in favor of Article number 10, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 10 passes, so declared. Going on to number 11, the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. To see if the town of Tilton will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. Previously established, this appropriation is not included in the operating budget. Recommended by both the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. The moderator will call on Joe Jessamine.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 11 as proposed.
Is there a second? Seconded by Eric Pyra. Joe, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, I would. The capital reserve fund has a balance of $5,543.91. With $5,000, that would bring the total to $10,542.91. This fund is drawn upon by nonprofit organizations to help clean the milfoil out of our sections of Lake Winnisquam and Silver Lake. We've had numerous requests for funding to eradicate the milfoil in the past. I had hoped to have the exact requests in my hand. I understand maybe Mrs. Mitchell might have a little more information.
Microphone 1.
Kathy Mitchell. I wanted to just mention that the Silver Lake Association and the Winnisquam Watershed Network are working with the Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
A little louder, please.
Working with the Department of Environmental Services to help eradicate milfoil, not just in one place or one spot, but across the spectrum. Silver Lake works with Belmont and Tilton. The Winnisquam Watershed Network works with Meredith, Laconia, Tilton, San Bernardino, and Belmont, trying to do a coordinated effort. Last year, the total sum was $4,892 to have divers pull up and dispose of milfoil and to use a chemical on the areas. They were working specifically at the Lockmere Dam and in the area near Chase Marina. This is a really good group of people. They know what they're doing and they're very competent.
Any other comments or questions? Jason?
Hello, Jason Wright. I agree, this is a great program. This is good for our clean waters. This is good for our boaters, swimmers. It's great for our tourism, which is, Tilton has the benefit of that, not just on the lakes, but all the traffic that comes through Tilton. So it's a great program. Again, I just have a question and an amendment to this article regarding the funding source. Amended Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $5,000 to be added to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established, and said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget and will not affect the tax rate. A majority vote is required.
And I need that in writing and signed, please. It's the same, but I'm going to read it again. Same thing, changing it from to the unassigned fund balance. To see if the town will vote, this is an amendment on Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to be added to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established, with said funds coming from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget, will not affect the tax rate. Any discussion? Mr. Scanlon.
John Scanlon. Was there a second for that?
Was there a what?
Second.
I believe there was. Was there not? No. Is there a second for that motion? Yes. Yes, by Catherine Dawson. Thank you. Is there any comment on the motion? Excuse me, on the amendment? Motion to amend by changing the funding source to the unassigned fund balance. I'll see no discussion. I'll read it and we'll vote. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $5,000 to be added to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget, will not affect the tax rate. All those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. I am confused. We're going to hold up cards, please. Please, all those in favor of amending the funding source on Article 11 to the unassigned fund balance, please hold your cards up. Those opposed to the amendment on Article 11, hold up your cards, please. Okay, go ahead. Bob? 27 voting in the affirmative, 16 in the negative. The amendment passes. Change the funding source to the unassigned fund balance. Now that becomes the main motion. I'll read that and then we'll vote on that. To see if the town will vote to raise or appropriate $5,000 to be added to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, previously established, with said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget, will not affect the tax rate. All those in favor of Article 11, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Yay.
Article 11 passes, I so declare. Article number 12. To see if the town will approve, the transfer of the Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, formerly called Atkinson Island, from the territory and jurisdiction of the town of Northfield in Merrimack County to the territory and jurisdiction of the town of Tilton in Belknap County, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen of Tilton to take any and all necessary acts to effect the transfer of the administration and management of the Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, formerly called Atkinson Island, in order that said Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, formerly called Atkinson Island, shall henceforth be the sole responsibility of the town of Tilton. A 2/3 ballot vote is required for passage. This article is recommended by the Selectmen. I will call on John Scanlon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 12 as proposed.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Pat Constantino. John?
Well, I think we all should be familiar with this. We've discussed this for many, many years. We've been working on this. Back in 2017 and 2019, we came before you and we all decided that, yes, we did want to take ownership and was voted on, but also took Northfield to say they don't want the island anymore and they want to turn it over to us. Both towns agreed and voted affirmative to the transfer. Just this morning, similar article passed in Northfield, 56-4, saying they don't want the island, they want us to have the island. A lot of work was done on this. Formerly it was known as Atkinson Island, and the towns of Tilton and Northfield were to be used exclusively for public park. As we know, it's very well used. There are concerts there, there are weddings there. It's a great focal point for our town. People who come to town enjoy going out there for picnics and all, and weddings and all that. We've tried contacting the heirs for the conveyance of this unsuccessfully for many years. We hired an attorney to move forward on that, and the problem is, after we couldn't contact the heirs, we had to go before the Attorney General's, and transfer by a bill in the General Court. Senate Bill number 30, which affected the transfer, was signed into law by the governor earlier this week. So if we look at it, it was a little more than just going and taking over ownership of it. We actually had to change the town boundary. So now the town boundary, if this is approved, we'll follow through with it, and we will officially own the island. One of the problems we had before with the island is, in order for us to maintain it or to get grants or anything else to keep it there from washing away or the bridge falling down, we had to have agreement from both towns in order to do it. Northfield wasn't really interested in it. So I urge everybody to complete this final phase to make Tilton Island part of Tilton. Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak to this motion? Microphone 2.
Yeah, turn your mic on, Chuck.
Yep. Thank you.
Scott Davis, Tilton. I just got a couple of questions. I support this article, I want to say that up front. My question is, one, within the island budget, it went up to 19.5 from 15. And it went up to 19,500. Can the select board explain what's going on there?
John Scanlon.
Yes, John.
So anyway, in order to do that, we're working on the bridge and getting funding for it, getting engineering to go and save that bridge. It's one of, I believe there's only 3 in the country like that. Part of that, I think it's correct, they said the 17,000. It's the only one like it. The other 2 left, I guess, washed away. So part of that is to go and to get the engineering to get the work done. We've got a grant that will provide half of that. We have to provide the other half, which will be coming out of another article that I'm going to come to you for is the money that we had put aside for engineering of that, of replacing the wall. That would be the first step of it. So in order to spend that money, we have to put it into the budget. So it's actually coming from grants and from our other fund.
And Mr. Moderator, one further question that I think for the people to understand. I think Article 12 and 13 are kind of connected. Can we give an amount that's in Article 13 in that capital reserve fund? They're asking to change the purpose of it, and I think it's solely for the purpose of the island, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we need clarification of what's in that because it goes along with this article.
Mr. Moderator?
John, you want to respond?
Yes, please. Capital Reserve Fund has $62,901.17 that we've saved towards fixing the island.
Thank you, John.
Jason?
Jason Wright, I'd like to speak in favor of this warrant article, and I don't have an amendment. So I can get up this. As John said, this has been a long time coming. This is a hard-fought thing. And operationally, you know, somebody wants to book an event, you would have had to go through 2 towns. If you want to fix one of the rocks, you have to go through 2 towns. If you want to drop a tree, and I know John wants all the trees leveled on the island, because he's not supporting a tree. No, I'm just kidding. There's no backstory with that, but any little amount of work, if you want to do something, you had to get both towns. So I think operationally this is a big win for us and a good piece of history to have. And it's one of the few treasures that we still have that hasn't washed away. And it is in risk of washing away if we, you know, can't make effective restoration. And to do that, to be the sole vote on that, that's a great thing. But be careful as we go forward. Part of why I go after our operating budget is to be able to afford nice things like this and afford nice things like our new police building. So our regular operating budget continues to spiral. We need to keep the pressure on keeping our annual budget down to be able to afford these projects.
Anyone else wish to speak? Not seeing anyone else to speak, since this requires a 2/3 vote, let me go ahead and read this again so everyone's clear what they're voting on. To see if the town of Tilton will approve the transfer of the Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, also called Atkinson Island, from the territory and jurisdiction of the town of Northfield in Merrimack County to the territory and jurisdiction of the town of Tilton, Belknap County, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen of Tilton to take any and all necessary acts to effect the transfer of the administration and management of the Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, formerly called Atkinson Park, in the order so that the Tilton Island, also known as Island Park, formerly called Atkinson Island, shall henceforth be the sole responsibility of the town of Tilton. This requires a 2/3 ballot vote. And seeing no other comments, I am going to open the polls. If you will please come down, get your cards punched. Linda will be over there at the ballot box along with Bob Hardy. We are in a short recess while we are voting. Hey, Helen. You gonna vote? Would you like to vote? At this point, if there's anyone who has not yet voted on Article 12, please do so. It's open. I've also got a copy. Last call. Okay, Bob and Linda, close it up, empty it. Folks, I'm going to ask you to take your seats. We have one more brief presentation that's being made. Thank you. While the ballots are being counted, I am going to call on Joe Jessup.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. First off, thanks for coming out this morning and being a part of this. I want to thank Chuck Mitchell, Kathy Mitchell, and all of the volunteers that helped put this on today. There's a lot of work before the fact, and there's a lot of work after the fact to pick up after ourselves, because we don't hire anybody, we just do it. I'd like to thank the school district employees who put the plastic down and are going to take away the trash and everything they do. I'd like to especially thank Jeannie Forrester, Tim Pearson, and Gail. Where'd she go? Okay. Gail for all of their work. Not just on an everyday basis, although they're vital, integral parts of the operations of the town of Tilton, but specifically for all the work they went to put together the town reports. We used to spend a lot of money on town reports, but we produce them ourselves, and we've saved significant amounts thanks to their efforts. I would like to announce that one of our police officers, Patrolman Dickie Paulus, formerly Lieutenant Dickie Paulus, had the occasion to perform life-saving measures on a young baby, little girl, recently, and because of those efforts, she's running and playing and doing her stuff now. Thank you very much. There'll be a formal presentation at an upcoming Selectmen's meeting with a plaque and then the whole thing. Very, very nice thing you did. Finally, where'd you go? Oh, I keep losing you. For the last 6 years, I've had the pleasure and the honor of serving as selectman with Mr. Peter Falk. We don't always agree on things, but...
I thought we did.
No, I'm sorry to surprise you all of a sudden. We don't even agree on that. There you go. I love working with Peter. It's been an honor and a privilege. The town has, in honor of your 6 years, hooked you up. Thank you, Peter. Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you very much. Okay, the results on Article 12, and thank you all for voting. 49 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. It passes unanimously and certainly exceeds the 2/3 majority. Let's move on to Article 13. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to change the purpose of the existing Tilton/Northfield Island Capital Reserve Fund to the Town of Tilton Island Preservation and Improvements Capital Reserve Fund. This article is recommended by the Selectmen and again requires a 2/3 ballot vote. Sorry to take your time on these, we'll move this right through. I'm going to call on John Scanlon to move this article.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 13 as proposed.
Second. And it's seconded by Joe Jessamine. I just want to let you know that we will have a different color ballot for this one. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so really excited about Article 12. It's ours. The next thing is we've saved money for a specific purpose of fixing the stones around the island. We were very good about that. We put a little bit away every year, and we have enough money in there. But sometimes there are other needs to maintain the island. We have enough in there for that. Presently, there's the $62,901.17 in there. We want to open up that fund to do other things to preserve and save the island, using that money without having to come to the taxpayers for it, and also utilizing grants and other funds to put our island back. So I urge that we all vote in favor of Article 13. Thank you.
The question, John, if I'm not mistaken, there's no financial impact. This is just simply changing the name of the fund.
That's
the
correct.
purpose of the fund, excuse me. Jason.
Right, Jason Wright. Congratulations on the island, that's a great thing, and congratulations on modifying this fund to keep up with the times. I would challenge the select board to continue to do so in other funds, and I'm going to go off topic for 2 seconds. The detail fund for the PD, you really need to start looking at expanding or changing that to include paying for buildings and paying for other things, not just cars. We buy too many cars, and there's money being earned in that detail fund, so that's some homework for you. But I think this is a great article. It needs to pass, and just the fact that you're getting Northfield out of the title is to make a statement, and then to do the right thing with it is also to be congratulated. So I approve.
Microphone 2.
Question, Mr. Moderator.
Second. Question has been called and seconded. All those in favor of closing debate or comments, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. I'll read the article, then please go get in line and vote. To see if the town will vote to change the purpose of the existing Tilton Northfield Island Capital Reserve Fund to the Tilton Island Preservation and Improvements Capital Reserve Fund. This is recommended by the Selectmen, requires a 2/3 ballot. Please go get your ballots and vote, and then we'll get right on it. else need to vote, please try to get it done within the next minute or so.
So it's not like it's not.
Okay. Anyone else? Polls closed. While you're all getting seated, I want to give you a good piece of information, which came electronically a few minutes ago. The town of Northfield finally voted on the transfer of the island again. This time, 56 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative, so it looks like it's finally going to get done. And until such time as I get the actual vote count, a couple of little short items. One is I want to thank Kirk Young here at the high school. He gave up this Saturday, he set up the whole PA system in here with his board and has done this for years for us, and thank you very much, Kirk. And the meeting is finally adjourned and over. If there are a few good people here that would be willing to help, we, meaning the town, is responsible for cleaning up and stacking up the chairs and putting away the tables back on the dollies and things like that. Thanks to Kathy Mitchell and several of the select board people, and a few of the town staff, we got these all laid out. And it's our job to clean it up so that they can come back in here and resume their classes on Monday morning, so thank you. I'm going to read Article 14, and then I will interrupt for the purposes of the results on Article 13. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to discontinue as a public roadway, Bittern Lane, which has an estimated length of 470 feet. Bittern Lane today serves as the principal access to the MB Tractor property. There's a secondary access to the adjacent Agway property. This article is recommended by the Selectmen. I will call upon Eric Hyra.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town adopt Article 14 as proposed.
And it's seconded by Pat Constantino. Eric, would you like to speak to it?
Basically, Bittern Lane serves one private business in the town, and the town is maintaining their driveway, in a sense, as the road leads directly to their driveway. It just makes sense to no longer take care of private property. It relieves the town of having to maintain that road, plow that road, and eventually repave that road. And that's what we're looking to do is to pass that on to the owners of MB Tractor.
Jason Wright and Scott.
Jason Wright, why wouldn't we sell this parcel of land to this private enterprise? Why are we just looking to give it away? This is real estate. This is land that has value. It can be sold and then it can be taxed.
Before I get to that, Scott, I'm just going to announce the vote on Article number 13, which was changing the purpose of the Island Capital Reserve Fund. That passed with a vote of 47 to 2. 47 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. So I declare that Article number 13 has passed with it more than a 2/3 majority. Scott.
Scott Davis, 5 Linden Ave. I'd like to move Article 14 to postpone it indefinitely, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, we've had a motion to postpone indefinitely, and it's been seconded. I am going to double check something here. I just wanted to double check whether I've got that as available. Yes. Okay, according to my moderator's rules, number 12, to kill a motion, one would move to postpone indefinitely. It is available and requires only a majority vote. Would you like to discuss any of your reasons why you would like to postpone indefinitely?
I would. I think, as Jason stated, it's value in the land to the town. This body, in the past 20 years, we have paid that way in there into Bittern Lane. Also, we only plow 17 miles. I think the argument's very lame that we're going to be plowing less. Their trucks are still going to be coming by there when they come back from the eastern part of Tilton. The same trucks that plow that road and sand. I see value in it, and I don't see a way or why it's valuable to the town of Tilton just to give a piece of property away. So I'm totally against this article.
Anyone else wish to speak on this? By the way, there are 2 more people here that will get a chance to speak. The whole idea behind postponing indefinitely means that this article, if you vote to postpone, means it would be dead for this meeting. Doesn't mean it can't come back again, but it would be dead for this meeting. Catherine Dawson?
So, this Bittern Lane, the town maintains. We know this. We plow it, we repair it, we expend money on it. Quite frankly, if I lived down at the end of it, I wouldn't want to take that responsibility and expense. The property owner at the end of the street is willing to do that. If this passes, Bittern will become part of that property. So it will be assessed. It should increase his assessment. I think it's a good thing. I don't think the town should continue to spend money maintaining somebody's driveway, essentially is what it would be.
Anyone else wish to speak on the motion right now is to indefinitely postpone? Not on the necessarily having to do with the warrant article itself. John?
Yes, John Scanlon. I think we need a little more time to look at this. The article claims that there is 400 and something feet on that road. I have a map that was given to me that says it's only about 100 feet or less is what the town owns. And I have that map here. It's not just one person, it's 2 businesses. The Agway has a driveway to access their loading docks on that road. I don't know if we've even notified Agway that possibly tomorrow they will wake up and find out they don't have a driveway anymore. The other thing is, we've always, with Lowe's, with Home Depot, we've always set up some type of conservation easement to protect our valuable wetlands and public access. None of that's been done. We're just turning it over. The other thing is snow storage. We want to make sure that the snow is not piled right next and going into Ice House Pond, one of our historical assets of this town. So I think to postpone it and look at it again at a future date with all those things in line would be more appropriate.
Anyone else wish to speak on the, we got two more down here, Selectmen. Peter?
Peter Fogg, the last time it was paved, I don't know, 15 or so years ago, it was the base course. It needs a wearing course, that's going to be coming up soon. The equipment they run is going to have to be heavy. It's like we want to put money toward a long driveway, that's fine. For those with any memory, before they burned the house out back, the road went to a fence or a gate. That was the end of Bittern Lane, so I would say the 470 is probably relatively close for the length. It's, the MB Chapter people have said that they will grant an easement to the owners of the former Agway building so that they can access their property. They have no issue with that. We approach them. If you want to throw on all sorts of conditions, they'll say no and we get to maintain it. So if you want a 500-foot driveway to maintain, then let's just table this.
Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There was mention of a conservation easement. There is a conservation easement on one half of the pond that does not allow public use. So if you're going to change and put a different type of conservation easement on the other half, then what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to build a fence down the middle of the pond to prohibit people from going on one side of the pond. The town portion of Bittern Lane just goes beyond the alternate driveway to the Agway property. So we're actually plowing their property currently as it is, going all the way to the end of the road or to the gate. So we're plowing a private piece of property already, and we're spending your tax dollars to do that.
Pat Clark, did you want to speak? Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and call the question. All those, by the way, if you vote yes on this one or aye, that means you want to indefinitely postpone this one, which, by the way, would defeat or voting on Article 14 and 15. So, all those in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 14, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion to postpone indefinitely has passed, which means we don't need to deal with Article number 15. Article 16, which was submitted by petition. I will read this, and if the body decides they wish to do anything with this one, it's up to you. By petition of 25 or more eligible voters in the town of Tilton to see if the town will vote to urge the New Hampshire General Court, which is obligated to redraw the maps of political districts within the state following the federal census, will ensure fair and effective representation of New Hampshire voters without gerrymandering. Additionally, these voters ask the town of Tilton to urge the New Hampshire General Court to carry out the redistricting in a fair and transparent way through public meetings, not in the favor of a particular political party, to include communities of interest and minimize multi-seat districts. The record of the vote approving on this article shall be transmitted by written notice from town officials to Tilton state legislators, informing them of the demands from their constituents within 30 days of the vote submitted by petition. Does anyone in here wish to move that as an article? I don't see anyone. Oh, Lauren, you want to move it? Okay, it is moved by Lauren Milner. Is there a second? Who did? Jane Alden? Okay, Jane. Does anyone wish to speak to it? Peter?
Peter Fogg, are any of the petition signers here to speak to it?
There was a name on it, I believe. I believe it was submitted by Lucinda Pope. Any other questions? Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Nay. I'm going to ask you to hold your card up. If you support this one, please hold your voter card up right now. All those in favor, please hold your cards up. Eight, 9, 11. If you're opposed to this one on Article number 16, please hold your card up right now. Those opposed? Well, Article number 16 passes with a vote of 20 to 13. The town of Tilton will be responsible for making some correspondence to the general court. Before we adjourn this meeting today, are there any other announcements? We have a couple, at least one. I see Joe. I recognize you, Joe.
My announcement that I was remiss earlier in not saying, this year's town report is dedicated to Judy Tilton. I don't see her sitting over there right now, but that's unfortunate. Judy Tilton is a vital, integral part of our community. She's a business owner, has been for years. She's an educator. She started the Compass Academy. She's a planning board member. She's done so much for so many. And this year's town report is dedicated in her honor.
Anyone else? Pat?
I just want to put a shout out to the town meeting for looking for volunteers for our bus driver. We will train you. You need a valid driver license and not a CDL, but a DOT medical card. We can assist you getting the medical card. If you have an extra morning or an afternoon available and can drive the seniors to doctor's appointments or groceries, it would mean a great deal to them. We would also like to open it up to the surrounding towns because there's a great demand. We can't right now. We have one driver. So there are days in our weeks right now that we have to say no to our Tilton residents, that we cannot take them. So the more people that can help, the more we can help. So if you can donate an hour or two in an afternoon or a morning, please see me after the meeting or call Town Hall and they'll get in touch with us and we can start the ball rolling. Much appreciated.
Anyone else have an announcement? At this point in time, I want to thank all of you for showing up today. And it's been a pleasure. And I'm willing to accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Nancy Trousdale. Thank you. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting